Lake Mead's calm waters hide a secret. Beneath the surface is a remnant of World War II. A relic of aviation history, frozen in time. 71 years ago, the U.S. military was conducting a secret test flight of a specially equipped B-29 bomber over Lake Mead. They were flying low to the surface that day at 250 miles an hour when something went wrong. They skimmed the surface, skipped a couple of times before the plane came to a halt. The crew got out alive, but the plane sank to the bottom and its location remained a mystery for 50 years.
When I first dived, it was close to 200-foot depth.
Joel Silverstein is one of the few people who has seen the wreckage in person. When you saw the B-29 for the first time, what was it like?
You come upon the tail of it, and it just starts to loom out of the darkness, and all of a sudden you start to see the entire shape of the plane there. And there's this moment of pause where you say, how'd that get here?
The fuselage is almost completely intact. Inside, you can see the pilot seats and the controls. The wreckage itself is enormous.
It has a wingspan of about 120, 130 foot long.
This is what the B-29 Superfortress looks like in operation. It was used for bombing runs during World War II.
Every time you fly it, you have to think about what I say, the men who flew them and the women who built this airplane.
It is a piece of history, but all is not well with the Lake Mead B-29. Water levels on Mead have dropped more than 100 feet due to drought, and the plane is now covered in quagga mussels.
When we first dived it back in the early 2000s, it was in pristine condition. What used to be shiny aluminum is now covered in these little mussels that are just there and sucking out all the nutrients from the water.
Are these mussels damaging?
The mussels themselves are not damaging the plane. They don't eat it or anything, but they're damaging the plane from their massive weight.
About 2 tons of quaggas are crushing the fuselage. It's not an immediate threat, but there is no plan in place to deal with it. Another threat is illegal divers.
People have dived on it illegally during the early 2000s.
Silverstein says some divers actually stole parts of the plane, but that hasn't happened for years because the National Park Service now closely regulates who is allowed down here in an effort to preserve the plane for years to come.
The significance of this plane is that there are only a few B-29s left. It is the only one that is intact underwater. So it is a cultural resource. It's important that it stay preserved and stay protected.
The National Park Service has closed off the B-29 to any divers for the foreseeable future. But you can see a Superfortress in person at the Pima Air and Space Museum in Tucson. Or just go to our website, azfamily.com, to see more video of the Lake Mead B-29 underwater. I'm Morgan Lowe for Arizona's Family.